All the leaves are brown, the leaves are brown, and the sky is gray. The sky is gray. I went for a walk, and to Tecumseh one day.
Autumn Diaries #2, motherfuckers. Let's do this. Okay, folks, welcome back. Hopefully we won't burst into song too much during this particular episode, but with Peter here, that is always a possibility. We do love his caramelly voice anyway. It's very, very nice. This week we're talking about our recent twitching exploits, and as I said, we hope to keep you all entertained. We've got 4 birds that we're talking about this week. We're talking about the bobolink, we're talking about the Arctic warbler, we're talking upland sandpiper, and then we're finishing up on northern harrier, or marsh hawk, which is a much cooler name, and I think that's what we should try and
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to refer to it as marsh hawk going forward. Right, bobolink, absolute mega. How many has there been for Ireland, including this one, Brian?
That's the fourth. Two on Cape and 1 on Hook, I think.
And when was the last one? How long ago?
17 years. 2003, yeah.
You were still in nappies.
Yeah.
You were 12. No. You were still in nappies. You had to sellotape 2 of them together, but you were still in nappies. It was all right. Okay, so 17 years ago, and it was a massive blocker for the lads who happened to get it on Cape. And I know there's a couple of birders who personally told me stories about how close they came to getting that bird and then missing it. So to say that this one was a heavily twitched bird is a bit of an understatement, and it was one that we were very, very excited for. Do you want to start telling the story, Brian, of how the news came about, where you were, what was happening?
Yeah, I got a phone call from Connor Foley, and I was still sound asleep at 10 o'clock, and or 10:30 or whatever it was, and the usual first line to every phone call, either me ringing Peter or me ringing John or Connor ringing me, is, "Did you hear the news?" And I said, "No, I hadn't." And he said, "There's a bobolink on Fannet Head." And when I heard Fannet Head, I was thinking, that's happy days, because it's only Donegal. We'll be there first. So I rang around the usual lads, and I got up to you. Yeah, I went up to you, John, and then we headed up to Donegal.
Mm-hmm.
And we were literally positive that we were going to be the first ones there. And then I got a phone call from Victor.
Before we get to that, I think you're really underselling how good of a twitching buddy I am. Like, it took you a half an hour to get to me, right? So by 10:30 you were there, you rang me at 10, and in the intervening 30 minutes I got up, brushed my teeth, showered, went and got us McMuffin breakfast from McDonald's, and was sitting waiting on you in the car when you arrived. Like, I think that point is true, warranted mention. Like, but as you say,
a McDonald's breakfast.
we even with the kind of 20-minute delay, we were full sure that we were going to be the first lads there, at least the first lads there from the Republic anyway, and it took a bit of a turn. What? Go on, I'm sorry for interrupting you keep telling me.
So I got a phone call from Victor, and he just said, "I'm watching it," and I was like, "What? No, like, what do you mean?" Like, and he said, "No, I'm watching the bobolink." And I was thinking, like, Victor lives like a full hour further south than me, and we left instantly. So how the hell was Victor up there? And I presumed he travelled alone. And I was asking him, like, how are you up there? But he couldn't hear me because the line was bad. And when we got up there was Victor, Aidan Kelly, and Jim Dowdall. And I actually couldn't believe it. I was thinking, like, was it I really didn't know how they got up there, and it turned out that they had been on Tory Island and they chartered off. So yeah.
So the lads were there anyway, and we pulled up. We were about 5 minutes away. For anyone who hasn't been to Fannet, it is absolutely beautiful, stunning scenery, mountains, seascapes, everything you could possibly want.
You're only saying that because we saw the bird.
Yeah, very true. If I hadn't seen the bird, it'd probably be a different story. But it really, it's where you think you might kind of connect with an American passer, to be fair. Like it's just in off the sea. It's just a very picturesque area is what I'll say. But we were 5 minutes away, and we had almost, I wouldn't say we'd relaxed, but we weren't as panicky as usual because we had the update from the lads that the board was there. Same old story. We rock up, get the car parked. Actually, Vanessa parked the car, me and you abandoned and just ran down the hill. But we run down, and the lads turned to us. Bird's gone, lads. Just dipped. It was there for showing.
No, it's the usual. Oh, it's just in there. It'll be out now.
Yeah.
And then 5 minutes pass, and you say, like, how long has it disappeared for a time? So it was like, not usually this long. And then another 5 minutes pass, and another 5 minutes passed.
Yeah.
And then the bird thankfully flicked up onto a post.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when we both got it, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. No, to be fair, we didn't get we both checked it through Victor's scope, I believe, wasn't it? I saw.
I think I ticked it through Derek Brennan's.
Okay,
I think
I remember Victor putting me on the board definitely. Anyway, so we both got it. We got it up on a fence post maybe 15 to 20 yards away, and it was there for maybe about 30 seconds, and then all of a sudden it started to get a little bit frantic. I started moving around inside this little tiny plot, which would be much less than, you're talking maybe a 50th of an acre, a very, very small brambly field, essentially. Bird got frantic, as I say, and then all of a sudden it flew high and to the left, and it went maybe 2 to 3 small fields to the left, and we were like, oh my God, we've just made this. Happy days, we're delighted. And then, of course, it dawns on you, the big guy's not here, Peter's not there, Jer's not there, they're on their way up the road, and the bird is flying high and away. So McCluskey being McCluskey goes, nice one, that's a blocker. But I was genuinely concerned for the lads having made the effort to come up. But thankfully, the bird dipped down, it landed on a post again, it came from the post up to a telephone wire, seemed to just reorientate itself a little bit and flew back into the exact spot that it had been. And that was a great relief. And that, it was, or should I say, we were relieved to see that. And the bird basically just kind of, it seemed to be feeding quite well. I will put in some of our footage here, some shots of the bird for those of you who aren't familiar with a bobolink. Beautiful, beautiful bird, seed-eating bird. And it was quite content there. It hung around for, I would say, a good 45 minutes until you arrived, Peter. Then it did the same thing that we did. It dipped down. It went again, and it was absent for 4 or 5 minutes. But I'm not going to talk you through, and Peter's not going to talk you through his twitch to the bird. Peter's the only one taking this seriously, folks. I have to be honest. Peter's fantastic in vlogging. He's the king of B-roll. That doesn't stand for vlog roll. It's for background imagery. But yeah. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut to a little clip of Peter's bobolink twitch.
I've just got news from Brian that the bobolink being found up on Fannet Head in County Donegal. So it's a once in a generation bird, as Brian would say, and we're on our way up to have a look for it now. Myself and Rose, my daughter Rose, is coming with me, and I'm going to meet Brian and John up there about an hour ahead of us. So hopefully they'll have the bird pinned down. It hasn't been seen in an hour, so keep the fingers crossed. What do you think, Rose? Got news that the bobolink is still there, so we're about half an hour away. Keep the fingers crossed. I got a phone call from John to say the bird was showing really well.
Peter Phillips. He arrives on site a few hours later and the bird is not on show. I haven't seen it in 4 minutes, Peter. Seriously.
We had a nervous few minutes wait,
Don't mention it.
and then the bird reappeared in class.
Coming out.
Peter, it's absolutely crippling.
Crippling views.
Left of the pole, but yes. Hey, Mark. Yeah, no, what?
The bird gave itself up in the evening sunshine. It's only the 4th Irish record of this rare American landbird, a real Western pal, Mega. You happy, Twitcher, Jer?
Yeah, jeez.
You just made it.
I just made it, right? It's a very normal potato.
Despite extensive searching, the bird wasn't seen again that day, but we were a happy 2-in-the-hand team. And we were delighted that Jer made it. Better late than never, Jer.
Okay, Peter, I think you did a great job documenting that there, but do you want to sum up verbally some of the things that are going through your head, some of your emotions that day?
Yeah, it was one of those. Was it a Sunday afternoon?
Mm-hmm.
Was it a weekend?
Yeah, it was Sunday, yeah.
Sunday.
Was it a weekend? And got the call from Brian, and I'm like, we'd already had these conversations many a time. Phone call from Brian the Sunday afternoon. I'm thinking, oh no, what's been found? He said, bobolink on Planet Head. I said, there's no way I can go because I was looking after the kids again. And I was looking after my daughter Rose, and I said, oh no, I won't be able to go on to bobolink. And I was trying to think where Planet Head was, because kind of in the panic. in the panic, I was thinking, well, it's not on the west coast. Where's Planet Head? I just couldn't pick where it was. And then it dawned me it was in Donegal, and I thought, God, if that's actually on the, it mightn't be actually that far away. I don't want to be. And I had a look at the map, and it was less than 3-hour drive, and I thought, God, that's not bad. So I said to Rose, I said, Rose, who I was looking after, I said, Rose, have you ever been to Donegal? She said, no, Dad. I said, would you like to go? She says, yeah, I'd love to. When are we going? I said, now. Get your coat on. Shit, are you serious? I said, yeah, come on up. We'll go for the spin. There's a rare bird up there. So we hop in the car.
I remember Rose saying, but what about my studies, Father? What about my homework? I remember, God love her, she was so annoyed that she missed out on all that homework that day at the Twitch. So
well, geography is a very important part of every child's education. So, yeah, no,
I'll say that caramel tongue again.
It was one of the counties she hadn't been in, so she was delighted to go up. But bobolink, as you said before, it's a bit of a blocker, hasn't been seen in a long time, and I never thought I'd get one on the north or east coast. I kind of have a bit of a twitching philosophy. I'm happy to twitch out in about 3 hours from the house if I get the opportunity. Like when you talk about Diaries and Galway and all these places, they're 4, 5, 6 hours away. They're long treks, but 3 hours isn't too bad because you can be there and back in more or less half a day. So myself and Rose set off, and I decided to do a little vlog. You've just seen it there. But it was an amazing day, and I've never been to Planet Head, and it's a great excuse to get out and see some of the most beautiful parts of the country. And we met Wilton up there. Wilton was the man who found it. Wilton Farley's from Northern Ireland, and yeah,
big up to Wilton. Props.
Yeah, he's a holiday home as far as I know up there. And then we were just talking to him afterwards because it's the best bird he's ever found as far as I know up there, best passerine. I asked him what else has he found in the 20 years he's been going, and the previous best bird he had was a lesser white-throat, and he goes from lesser white-throat to bobolink. So it just shows you, if you persevere in your local patch for long enough, if you're in a good enough location, eventually you will get a good bird, and bobolink's about as good as it gets.
I reckon it'll be a long time till I get a bobolink in Monaghan. 20, 40, 50 years. I can't see it happening. But I do.
You keep trying, John.
I'm out there every day. Playing the call, see what happens. But yeah, so actually it's kind of, it was sort of there's a football term for it, but essentially we all scored that day, in the sense that the three of us got it, but also so did Jer Murray, who followed Peter up the road. And we were delighted to all get it because, as we've said before, there's nothing worse than when one of the team doesn't connect with the bird. We're all, apart from McCluskey, annoyed when that happens, you know. I could see.
Actually, Jer was very lucky to get it at all because,
Yeah.
well, it turned out that he would have got another chance at it if he hadn't have seen it that day, because it did hang around for 4 or 5 days. But just when he arrived, he did the same as us. He just stopped the car, ran down to the scope, looked in, saw it, went to park the car, and when he came back, I picked it up flying towards us. I was thinking it was just going to drop down into the usual spot. And it actually got really high and was going straight towards the sea. And it was actually over the water. And it kind of banked back and disappeared in behind a ridge. And I was thinking, I didn't know whether it dropped down or not, or whether it kept going. And at that stage, then I went down to where I last saw it and walked around the marshy field there for hours. Didn't see anything, and we all assumed it was gone. And a couple dipped later that day, but most of them got it back then in the next 4 or 5 days. So.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning actually that a friend of ours, Mark Stewart, refound the bird the next day, when the vast majority of people were thinking that it wouldn't have been seen again. So fair play to Mark.
Especially like I was trying to think, like, if you stayed over like to the next day, like if you dipped and stayed over the next morning, would you have stayed like till the afternoon still on no sign? Like,
yeah,
you probably wouldn't have. Like, geez, it was a brilliant, brilliant pickup.
Now that you mention it, I actually have been in contact with a couple of lads who didn't stay that night, but they went up and they subsequently left around 12 because there was no sign, you know. So
I think it was like 1 o'clock or 1 or 2 o'clock or something.
Yeah,
when it was picked up. Brilliant refind.
He had to turn back around. He was halfway home to go back for the bird, essentially, but he got it. So happy days. And it was actually a very cooperative bird. The previous one on Cape Clear, you know, really annoyed some people because they missed it by seconds or by minutes, and this one showed for, what was it, 5 days? In fact, I know one Donegal birder who actually happened to be in Cork on his holidays or something, and then he went back to get it, he was saying. So that's pretty cool, you know. Delighted that he could connect with it. It'd be nothing worse than, you know, something being found on your
own patch. Yeah,
and then exactly missing something on your patch, but luckily he got back for it. So that's the story of the bobolink. Bird number 2, I don't want to speak about it, to be honest with you, because I dipped it, and to be honest, folks, I didn't dip it once, I dipped it 3 times. It was just the most.
John, it only took me 1 go.
I know, but to be fair, JR pointed it out to you. That's the difference. I had to go down there on my own and try and find it, you know, without Murray the Bloodhound to point it out for me. And it just didn't work. It just was very elusive for me. The way it went, actually, I was down in Wexford with the other half celebrating her birthday. I treated her with a trip to birdwatching Mecca to come. No, I didn't. Folks, what I did was I was strategic. I took her to Wexford, knowing that if anything was found, I could be like, "Oh, pet, I'll just nip down."
You're a clever man, John.
Oh yeah, shrewd is the word, McCluskey. Shrewd is the word. But anyway, so there we are sitting eating our dinner, and the text goes through that I believe Brian Porter and Jim
Paul Keaton found it, I think.
Paul Keaton found it, but Brian put out the news, didn't he? Brian and Jim, I believe. I think. Yeah. So I sent the text to Stephen King, who runs the Rare and Scarce WhatsApp group, and Steve's always fantastic. He'll get back to you with news and help you as soon as he can. So thanks for that, Steve. It's much appreciated. Steve got me a pin. We raced from the hotel down for the bird, maybe 10 other birders there, and Brian was saying, "Look, I haven't seen it in an hour," and I was like, flip. Essentially,
that's always what you want to hear when you turn up to a Twitch.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I said, the word flip. But So I remember saying to herself, look, can we? There's 45 minutes left of light here. Can we just give it to dark and we spread out and hopefully everybody here, somebody will pick it up. We did. No joy. We spread out. We gave the 45 minutes. No joy. It was the last, pretty much, last of the light. So we went home. We went back to the hotel. Then after that, tried the next day. No joy again. Complete another disaster. Get back to Monaghan. Word goes out that the bird's there again. I have work for the next 2 days. No. I was resigned to the fact that I missed the bird, essentially. You know, like if you have work, you have work. You know, you can't get too annoyed about that. But it happened that on the bird actually showed. That was Sunday that I went back to Monaghan. The bird actually then showed up again Monday. It showed up on Tuesday, and on Wednesday I happened to have my car service booked. So what I was doing was I was going to my mechanic and working in the Costa across the road while I was servicing it. So he usually doesn't finish to 5 or 6, finished at 2 o'clock, and I says, that's it, I'm on the road. The bird was seen that morning, got down there, 3 or 4 hours late, no bird. Third time going for it. Second time driving all the way from Monaghan to Wexford, just no sign of it. It was seen that morning by Billy Miskelly and Tom. Do you know Brian?
I can't remember who had that down.
Sorry, the name escapes me. Very nice man. I just sort of terrible with the names. But anyway, the bird was seen.
John,
yeah.
John,
Tom Tarpey had it.
Tom.
Yeah.
Yes.
If it's any consolation, Stephen King got crippling photographs of it. I think
Yeah, I know. Some would say he was too close to the bird when he took that photograph. You know, and then after all these great shots were taken, the bird seemed to magically move to it. No, I'm only joking. I'm completely joking about that. It just was a mobile bird that wasn't meant to be for me, and I didn't get it despite quite a bit of effort. But it's not. It's a mega bird, but it's one that I'll get again, I'd say, and I'll probably get it back within 3 or 4 years, so I'm not too worried about it. If I had missed the bobolink, that would have been I'd have probably had to take that out and Brian and beat him up a bit, but luckily we didn't. It's not that caliber of bird, so I'm not that annoyed about it. But nobody likes to dip, and that was 3 dips on the one bird within 4 days. So it was a bit stingy, especially because, you know, you're looking at 12 hours driving essentially for no bird. So I took it with my usual poise and grace, and the lads will back me up on that by any chance, would you? No,
absolutely. Yeah,
there was no whinging, there was no giving out, and I just took it like a man.
Never.
No, not me. Did either of you happen to connect with the bird, boys?
I saw it very well. No, well, what happened was I can't
wait till you get responsibilities, McCluskey. I really cannot wait, because I'm going to be ringing you from the field and being like, nah, this is the real world, you little shithead. No, I'm only joking.
No, basically, what happened was word went out that it was a greenish, I think, in Churchtown, and I need greenish, but J.R. Murray, who I twittered as well, he had already seen it, and I think it didn't suit anyone else to travel. So my driving test is in the next 2 months, I think it is, and hopefully, if there's not another lockdown, it'll go ahead. So I'd be able to go for the next greenish myself. But the next day, then word went out that it was re-identified by Stephen King and Killian Mallarney that it was an Arctic warbler. So Arctic warblers are an awful lot rarer. I think there's 45 records of greenish and 15 of Arctic. So
I think that was the first record of Arctic warbler on the east coast of Ireland, wasn't it?
It was the first for Wexford, anyway. Yeah, and would have been for the east coast as well. So realistically, like, Arctic warbler is probably 3 times rarer than greenish warbler. So when I rang Jer and I says it's re-identified as an Arctic warbler, and when he heard that, then he was mad to go for it. So I was up to him within a half an hour, and we headed down. And apparently I was getting updates from Stephen King the whole time that it was showing well, and showing, like, every time it showed, he'd send me a text or whatever. And I literally thought it was going to be a gimme. I thought like there's no way we're dipping this, like, and we arrive and Stephen says it hasn't been seen in 2 hours. I think it was 2 o'clock we arrived, and it hadn't been seen since it was actually probably 11 o'clock. It was probably last seen, and looked around. There was probably 20, 30 other birders there. No sign, and we all spread out. Still no sign. I saw me and Stephen as well. I just did a bit of birding with him when we were down there because everyone just kind of split up into different areas. And I great spot. A woodpecker flew into the garden, which was a Wexford tick. But birders then started just to leave as the hours just ticked by, and there was no sign. And it was funny because everybody was kind of laughing because Jer was literally standing. It's the same with sea watching with him. He can just stay so focused compared to me. Like, he was literally like staring into the garden.
He only has the one brain cell, so it's easy to coordinate, you know. Only joking, Murray. We're gonna have Jer on someday, and he's gonna absolutely roast us. So Jer is known not just in the birding community for his stamina. I'll let Peter fill you in on that. On that. Some of his slow motion videos might give you an insight into stamina Jer has, but he's known for being the guy who is always looking for the bird. He never switches off. He just stays tuned in all the time, and fair play to him. He's a hero in that regard. Go, Brian. Keep telling your story.
So a full 5 hours had passed, and everybody. I was chatting to Daniel Weldon down at the original location, and other than the two of us and Jer, who moved up to the graveyard area, everybody else had gone. So from 30 birders to 3. So like you'd think that there's no chance of connecting, but at 7 o'clock, I think it was 7 or just before 7, Jer rang and he just says, "I have it," and we didn't know where he was, and I don't think he really knew either. And me and Daniel just started legging it up the road, and we saw Jer in the graveyard, and we ran in, and he says it's in the bush, like it's in this tree, and I could not see it, and neither could Daniel. And then Daniel saw something flick out and land on the top of one of the sycamores, but my view was blocked, and he was seeing it really well, and so was Jer, and I just could not see it. And I moved around to where the lads were, and just as I moved around, I saw a naked eye flick, which could have been anything, to the far side of the road.
But you ticked it anyway.
So what you're saying is you had a better view of it than you had of the Fiat Petrol.
Like that was going to happen. Like,
Philosopher.
Is it what, Peter?
Philosopher.
So I couldn't even say it was a philosopher. Like, and I ran out to the road, like thinking, like, oh my god, like if it's only shown that briefly in 5 hours, I'd probably mess this one up. So I ran out to the road, and I thought the lads were going to follow me out, but because whatever, I presumed that it was the Arctic warbler that flicked around, and I ran out and no sign, and I just started pitching, and I see this naked eye kind of warbler just bouncing around the tree in front of me, and got the pins on it, and I could see it had a wing bar, and I was like, please be the Arctic warbler. And obviously it was going to be it, but it just hopped out from behind a branch and just sat there, amazing bins view for a couple of seconds, and then just kept flicking around the tree, but it was quite difficult to see. And just as I got it, I hadn't even been on it like 4 or 5 seconds, and then Killian Mallarney arrived, and so he had seen it in the morning, then went away for the entire time that it disappeared, and arrived back just as it had been refound. And
smell a rat there. I smell a rat there. He probably had it in his pocket or something. I don't know.
And he got shots. He was getting shots of it in the tree, and I ran back, got the lads, and we came out and we saw it really well. And then it got out, flew over our heads, gave the little call, like it's kind of like a zip kind of call, and flew into another garden way up the road. So we again went running after it, and found that whatever way the sun was just beaming down on one part of a hedge and nowhere else. And the Arctic warbler was just feeding on that bit of that bush that was in the sun, and it was obviously getting a bit of feed there. And that was it. We had 10 minutes of it in there. I put the news out straight away. I just said the Arctic warbler was back or something, and put a pin drop to the new garden. And a couple of lads made it back, and they saw it just as it was getting dark. But at least they got it. So that was kind of it. Then me and Jerry went away with big smiles on our faces.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm delighted for you. Not bitter in the slightest. The next bird, moving swiftly on, was the upland sandpiper. So, Brian, give us a little bit of context on that one and set the scene, if you will.
Yeah, so I think it was the 29th of September. I think it was the 29th or the 30th. It could have been the last day of September. Anthony McGeehan found an upland sand on Inishboffin, and he emailed me to say what the story was with it, but that he had seen it fly off but probably drop back down, but there was no further sign. And I just knew. I think we were heading to Mizzen the next day. You remember that, Peter?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Me, you, and Jair were heading to Mizzen for the.
Yeah.
Me, you, and Jair were heading to Mizzen for the day the next day, and I think I tried to persuade us to go to Inishboffin. Because the thing with upland sands, like they could just disappear into rushy kind of fields, and they wouldn't be seen for hours or days. And anyway, we went to Mizzen and saw a reed warbler, and literally we didn't see a single chiff-chaff. What did we have? A reed warbler and oh no, you might have had a chiff-chaff down by Tor or something, did you?
One chiff-chaff, yeah.
Yeah. And then we had jack snipe.
For about 10 hours birding, yeah.
Did we even have jack snipe that day? Did we walk through this griffin?
No, I don't think so. Or did we?
I can't remember. Anyway, we saw nothing anyway in there. But yeah, so then the next day, so 2 days after it had been originally seen, Anthony refound it. And so then we all made plans to go. So let me see. There was 10 of us chartered a boat out to Inishboffin, and we went out, and Anthony met us at the pier, and we were kind of just walking around. He brought us to where it had been seen the previous day, and we all kind of stopped to scan the original area, and out of the corner, I think John, you, and I think Angus O'Donnell, just at the corner of your eye, kind of glimpsed something getting up.
I must say, I fluffed that one. Like I really did. Like I was looking
What
at
a
it.
dunce.
I turned my head, saw this bird, and then all of us, like, we're talking a split second here, and then it just got up essentially, and I goes to Jair like this. What's that getting up there? Like no urgency, no, nothing like that there. And then I was like, no, what's getting up there? And then Angus roared. He was like, lads, it's getting up. And it flew past us and down the hill again there. Well, fair play to Angus for shouting, because I was in a flipping daze. But everybody actually got the bird in flight at that point. So, and when I say we got it in flight, we got it for a pretty substantial period in flight. It was, maybe a 15.
It went away to the left and then kind of banked back right and just slowly kind of dropped back down into the field.
You're talking like a 15 to 20 second flight view. So
the pressure was on.
Sorry?
The pressure was off.
Exactly.
Pressure was off. Yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly it. We were a wee bit relieved that we'd seen the bird and that it was there. And from there, we just decided we'd go and try and get more views. Essentially, we walked back down from, I believe, the airfield towards the school, and then we were heading right. And Anthony and the lads kind of pushed all the way up and around.
I was with Anthony doing that,
yeah. Myself and Angus and another lad called Dermot, we just didn't actually think that the bird had went that far. So we sort of split off. And to be honest with you, we were having great crack. We were just chatting, talking about cars and stuff like that. I was saying that we thought the lads were pretty much heading too far away. And we decided we'd start walking the fields a little bit. So we walked the GAA field there, a Gaelic pitch, to no avail. And we kind of said, right, look, we're moving too far away. We're too far right at this point. So we headed back to the left, essentially, from where we had originally, to the left where we had originally seen the bird. And we sort of stopped halfway between where we started from and where we traveled to. There's this kind of little exposed rock, and we decided to have a look around and try and pick it out, just, naked eye and stuff. At this stage, the rest of the gang were about, he had to be 1.5 kilometers away, if not.
Yeah, but it's funny, John, because just as you were going up there to start scanning, I just got this this notion just to start walking back to you.
No way.
Because, I was only about maybe less than 100 meters away from you when the next part of the story happened.
Well, what happened was we were chatting away, as I said, having the banter, and Dermot goes, "Geez, I think I heard a call, or heard its call from behind us." And I don't know why we didn't look. He said that, and we all kept looking in the other direction, essentially. But whatever possessed me, I turned around and I started to scan the field, and the bird hopped up on a wall, clear as day. And I goes, "Lads, I have it. The two boys turned around. We all got it in the scope, and it was fantastic. And then the bird just flew away. It just, like, nobody. We were 100 yards away from it. No discernible movement. It just decided to fly, and the bird flew about 200 to 300 yards to the right, and for some reason it literally just stopped on a telephone wire. It landed on that wire. I remember Angus saying, I stayed on. I remember him saying, don't lose it. And I was right. It's on the wire. It's literally up on the wire. They got on it, and then I turned and I started roaring.
You roared, and I could hear you roaring.
Yeah,
and I was probably only 100 meters away, and I just started legging it.
Yeah.
I ran straight up and I think Dermot stood back from his scope and just said, just look in or whatever. And I was expecting to see it in a field, like running around or something. Yeah.
Was you?
I couldn't believe, like,
you and Paddy, I believe. Two of you kind of run up, didn't you?
Was it me and was it Paddy was with?
I think.
And then and then me and Paddy went because it was me, Jer and Cahill, I think, were further back.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Paddy went up. Yeah.
So I think Paddy actually looked through my scope. You all got the bird anyway, and it was it stayed there for
ages,
like 2 minutes. It felt like 2 minutes anyway, like,
just sitting up on a bloody telephone wire, like.
So
I think I as far as I've never seen a wader on a telephone wire. I know a lot of people were saying, like, I've seen them. Which
it's a weird one as well. Glossy ibis. Glossy ibis.
Is that? Well, I suppose it is a kind of a wader.
That'd be the one I've seen. And then actually, it was a bird in Waterford, and I think subsequently it got stuck and died on the wire.
Oh yeah.
Now that I think about it. But anyway.
No, but a lot of people were then saying, like, oh, well, waders all, like, sit up on posts and things like that. But, like, sitting up on posts is different to sitting on a telephone wire,
And even still, right, look, without getting mired in the nitty-gritty of debate or whatever, but they do perch on different things. That's fine. Maybe that's part of their behavior. But this particular bird was being very, very elusive.
Extremely elusive.
Point. Yeah. So us to see it perched up in the open on a wire, of all things, we thought was quite, newsworthy.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
it was shocking. Like, but again, where was Murray? Murray had only seen the flight view at that point. I don't actually think Jared got it on the wire, or did he just arrive?
I don't think so. No, I don't think he did, but he saw it really well in flight, and he got savage shots. So.
Yeah, Jared got the best shots of the day.
Yeah.
And then actually, myself, the two lads that I'd originally picked it up with, and Jared decided to just hang back a smidge.
I regret not doing that.
Everybody else pushed off again. We just sort of stayed, and the bird flew then from the left hand side of where I was, and then it flew way over to the right, and then it flew back a couple of minutes later, and it seemed to settle in the middle, and it hopped up on a wall in front of us. Then
the call was unbelievable too. It was like, it's nearly like a mixture between the bubbling female cuckoo call and like a quail. If that makes sense.
It sounds almost like mechanical of some sort, if you know what I mean. It doesn't sound organic. It'd be the way I'd put it. Like, I don't know. It reminds me of one of those like 80s video game sound effects. Like, it's just that's what it reminds me of.
It's amazing, Carl.
Yeah. The other cool thing, well, two things. I didn't expect the bill on this particular bird was bigger than I expected, and the legs were massive. It was like it was ridiculous. It was like it massive legs on it. But those are the two things that kind of struck me about it. And Jer got that. Jer got the views there. He got fantastic scope views.
Yeah, because I was down on the lower road when you were watching it, because we saw it fly in, and I was certain it landed in the field. Yeah, where it obviously was, and I picked it up running through the whatever way my angle was. Mm-hmm. There was a kind of mesh fence constantly in my way. Yeah, and just as I went to move the tripod to get it again, I watched it and I hopped up onto the wall and then left. Yeah, but I was thinking, how many minutes do you reckon you had it in that field?
Less than 5.
Would you have had it for 5 minutes?
Less than.
John, you're not good at time.
I'm not good at time. 2 to 3. Well, I'll tell you this. I had time actually to regret not bringing my big scope. And you and I had just been talking about it. I brought my island, my travel scope for islands. So this is a bit obsessive, folks. But
it's a pity, because if I had been up there, I would have probably got phone scope shots.
Yeah, definitely. I just so as I was saying, maybe a little bit obsessive, but if I'm going on to an island where I have to walk an awful lot, I don't want to be carrying the bigger scope. I have a much lighter setup that I take that gives me, I suppose, a lot of the capabilities that the bigger one does at a much reduced weight, essentially.
John, if I can carry it, so can you.
Yeah, that's true. But you see, I'm much more agile than you, McCluskey, you know, so you have to make the weight savings where you can.
Brian tires very easily.
I do.
He does. He so does. He actually does. He's asleep more times than he's awake when he's burdened. But anyway, we all got the bird. It was fantastic. You know, the only one of us, and we almost lost over him. Poor Peter with the responsibilities. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't go. We could have went today. We went to Mizen on a day trip looking for Yanks, but I decided.
But you saw your name up in lights and Irish birds, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought, you know, we'd have a chance of finding a mega Yank, but it wasn't a day. But I don't regret it. No, Upland Sands will come again. It comes every 4 or 5 years. So
4 or 5 years?
Well,
no, it doesn't, Peter.
What?
No, what was it? 90. Well, there was one in 2011. 93, was it?
What? 10 years?
Huh?
I'll only be 61 the next time.
It's probably a 10-year bird, because I think there was one in 2004 maybe on loop. I think I'm probably wrong with that year, but Dave McAdams. No, Dave McAdams had one fly over him on loop.
That was 2011. I thought that mullet bird.
No, that was the mullet. Was 2011. Yeah.
But the one before that was, where was that? What you were saying? Sorry. The one before the Loophead, okay.
And then there was Dursey before that.
Okay. Very gettable, Peter. It's one you'll get back. It might take you a while, but I would be confident you'll get it back.
I wouldn't.
Thanks, Frank.
Yeah, we're all mocking Peter because he couldn't go, because he's got a loving family and a house and a career. You loser. You know? Come on, like, I think there's only one winner here, Peter, and we say nothing. Anyway, you'll get it back. You'll get it back. The Upland brings us ticked, written off, never think of it again. The next bird was the Northern Harrier, the Marshhawk. You want to tell us that story? For those of you who are regular viewers of the Two in the Hand podcast / vlog / TV show thing, this essentially, you will have watched our previous interview with Eric the Birdman Dempsey. If you haven't watched that, folks, I would urge you to. It's absolutely fantastic, riveting content, and genuinely entertaining for us, even as hosts, you know. But full props to the Birdman here when he called this. If you'd watched that episode, you would have seen the news came in of the Northern Harrier basically
live on air.
live on air, when we were filming the episode with Eric, and you can hear Brian, he's like, oh no, there's a Northern Harrier somewhere in there. Oh. And that was pitch perfect rendition or impression of it. But yeah, so we were really torn. We didn't know what to do because the upland wasn't playing ball at all. It was very, very hard to see, very, very difficult bird to connect with, or at least that's the impression we had got of the bird. So we were thinking maybe we'll go down and try and take the northern, which is also a rare bird. But Dempsey, the voice of experience, thank you, Eric. Eric said, no, here's what you do. You go, you tick your upland, and then the next day you go for your marsh hawk. And we listened to him. Spoiler alert, folks, it all paid off, but we let Brian tell the story of the Northern Harrier as well. Go.
Yes, so when the news of the Northern broke, we did end up going for the upland first, and then John's gone, and then that's not distracting in the slightest.
I'm listening, Brian. Come on.
So we got the uplands and
Patrick keeps dying. I apologize.
Yeah, then the next day, but we went back home with because Jared didn't need it, and then I can't remember what happens on.
Tell us, Brian, when you're finished, will you?
Yeah,
that's a really good story.
So what happened
what
happened was we basically got home, and I said to you, look, if that Northern Harrier is seen, we'll go early. No news came out. I rang you at 11 o'clock and said, look, I'll lift you now. We'll go and see if we can pick up the bird where it goes to roost in the evening time. There'll be photos put in, Peter, don't worry, I promise I'll put photos in. But no news came in. I rang you and said, look, we'll go anyway. It could come in, it could roost in the evening time. And you said, yeah, sure, why not? We'll chance our arm here. And that's what we did. We arrived down maybe 4 o'clock in the day, 3 hours light left. And we set up at the point. Met a few other birders there, got chatting to the finder, Dave McGrath. Mad props to Dave. He's got a fantastic patch there, doesn't he? It's just beautiful. And then we were seeing lots of different birds of prey. I had a peregrine off in the distance. We had buzzards, we had kestrels, and we even had a hen harrier at one point, but there was no sign of the marsh hawk. Until about, what we'd say,
it was bang on half 4.
It was bang on half 4, was it?
I think we got there about 3:30.
Did we? Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
We'll say we were there for about an hour, no sign of the bird. And next thing, this very dark harrier basically breaks the horizon of a hill that was actually behind us. We were looking this way, the bird got up back here. And it was picked up by a guy called Kevin. And I cannot think of Kevin's second name, but he's
Kevin O'Driscoll.
Kevin O'Driscoll, gentleman. Yeah. And Kevin goes, oh, I think I have it. And I turned around, and just as I turned around, the bird banked, and I got a look underneath it, and really intense orange. And I goes, Brian, here it is there. It's definitely it. And directed everybody to the bird. And Brian, you got on it for about 2 seconds.
Yeah, it was probably a wee bit longer because when I got on it, I could only see the upper parts, and it was nearly the upper parts were nearly black, and I knew it was going to be it, but I just really wanted to see it banked.
Yeah,
and just as it was going in, I could see the tree line on the right, and it was going straight in behind it, and just before it went in, it just banked. Yeah, and I could see the belly really, really well. But I did. It was kind of a little bit unsatisfactory because I would have liked to have seen kind of the underwing and things like that on it. So,
and more importantly, I'd say you would have been slagged mercilessly had you ticked that. Let's be fair. But yes, luckily, that bird played ball unbelievably. It came out and it landed in the middle of a field. Jet black uppers, to be fair.
Yeah, it was nearly like a bloody crow. Yeah, it was that black.
I was shocked at how dark the bird was above. And it sat in that field across from us maybe I actually think it would have sat as long. It could have sat for hours if there was a dog walker with a golden retriever that actually flushed the bird twice from 2 different fields. And we were getting fantastic scope views at this point. And we watched it for a prolonged period of, maybe up to an hour, I'd say. All in total, we had good views of it over an hour. And we were chuffed. We were absolutely chuffed. It was a hell of a couple of days, like.
Amazing, yeah.
You thought 3 Yank ticks within 10 days: Bobolink, Upland, and Marshhawk. I was chuffed. I was ready to draw a line under autumn then and there. I was delighted. The only thing that annoyed me is that we didn't get to take our little buddy with us. Peter, you missed out on pretty much all the kind of epic twitches bar the first one.
I suppose the only thing is I didn't need Arctic Warbler. I was fortunate enough. I was on Cape Clear. God, it was probably 10 years ago when I was at the back of Cotter's Garden, and Steve Wing shouted he had a wing-barred flosk. So I had to run all of 20 yards down to take my first Arctic Warbler, and it showed down to maybe 10 or 15 feet. So I wasn't going to Wexford for another one of them because I couldn't get better views. And I saw the first Marshhawk at the Cumshin. And actually, there's a good crowd from Britain came over. I think Lee Evans and all came over for that bird. And that was the first one that was recognised at the time as a Marshhawk. But there's been a subsequent. I think there's been 7 or 8 records since, has there, Brian?
That was the 9th for Ireland. This recent one was the 9th.
Yeah, but they're like when you say like that was the 9th, like. That's the 9th bird within 10 years, like, like before that, like they're non-existent. Now you could make perhaps they weren't being picked up. You really could, but they're still a mega bird is a point I'm making.
I think Northern Harrier candidates were always kind of. I think there's a record from '87 on Silly. Or was it even before that? I can't. Yeah. Anyway, there's a record from Silly which was accepted, but then there's another like really good candidate from I think it was Orkney or North Ron, and I think that was. I don't think that ever made the grade, but it was a really really good candidate. But there wasn't good enough pictures of the underwing. I don't think so. So like these birds have probably turned up all along, but it's just like with photography and things like that, you can get to see the finer details. So,
and as well as that, I would argue that probably more people are looking since.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like it's a relatively recent split, So
some of it is that people are observing it, if you like, through new eyes, and they're recognizing the differences. But then for some species like buff-bellied pipit, for instance, a good few years ago, lots were turning up in Britain and Ireland. I think there could have been about 30 between Britain and Ireland in a matter of a few years, and everyone thought, oh well, people just have been not recognizing them amongst the metapipits. But then they literally vanished off the face of the earth. Like it was only like literally 1 or 2 a year for a good number of years. So I think some populations of birds, like, they're cyclical. So for whatever reason, maybe in North America they're having a good few breeding seasons, and then you're getting vagrants coming over, and maybe that's followed by another few years where the breeding seasons are poor and you don't get so many. So it could be just that we're going through a good phase where maybe Marshhawk are having a particularly good breeding season, or a good few breeding seasons, and we might get a drought in a few years' time.
It's a shame because they're a fantastic bird. It leaves me with only one Harrier to get on the Irish list now. Monty's.
Same as me.
You need Monty's too, Peter?
I need Monty's, yeah.
Oh, nice one. That would be fantastic. We'll take that one together, lads, all right? So nobody's allowed to go if I can't go, and vice versa, all right?
We'll definitely do a vlog about that one.
We'll definitely do a vlog about that one. And I suppose, folks, will we move on? Is it time to end the show? We've talked about our recent activities, and you've mentioned vlog, Peter. And I think it's only fair that we intro our next week's birding now, which is going to be our annual trip to Les Mis, which is Mizzen Head, where we go migging and we try and find and connect with some rare birds. And Peter is undertaken to do all the filming for that one. And that's what we're doing, folks. Tell the lads what we're doing, Brian. You're booking a house. Have you booked the house yet? We're leaving in
I have the house booked. So house booked for 10 days. So 10 days of looking for Yanks.
In
There's
Barleycorn, is it?
Barley Cove, yeah, there's a few good, well, there's one system, the long range forecast it's looking quite good for Yanks, so it'll probably end up being, yeah, exactly, Peter. It could possibly be Yank and nothing else, which is usually the case in West.
Brian, we call that go big or go home.
And we went home.
that'll be the title of the vlog then. So go big or go home.
Yeah.
Limits edition. We'll get Peter to intro it by singing "I Dreamed a Dream." Is that fair enough?
Do you know who actually needs to join our choir? Apparently, he was overlooked as a youngster in school, but apparently he's ready to sing for us now.
Who's this?
Young Brian McCluskey.
Peter, you're not getting out of me now.
Brian,
Sing
us out there. Sing us out there, folks.
In fairness, right, myself and John have put ourselves out there and sang a good few times on the show, but Brian has been a little bit hesitant. I think you should sing us out with
No chance.
No.
Go on, Peter. Go on, Brian.
This is your Susan Boyle moment.
Yeah.
Lads, I'm not doing it.
Brian.
No, I'm a party pooper.
It'll be the perfect finish to the show, lad. It'll be the perfect finish.
Peter, I'm poo-pooing your idea.
You'll never be discovered, Brian.
No, I don't want to be either.
Brian, I'm not being smart. The acoustics in your mouth alone would probably make you a good singer. Like, you have to give it a go. I guarantee you, it'll be fantastic. No. It's like a foghorn. Like, I dreamed a dream.
Would you sing, Brian? Would you sing it with us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll sing it. Yeah.
Okay. Right, John.
Hold on. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you next week with our Les Mis vlog. We really appreciate your views. I'm going to ask you to like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff. Keep the feedback coming. The comments really, really mean a lot to us. We appreciate them. And as well as that, they're a source of inspiration for us. So if you feel like you want to see more of one particular episode format than the other, do let us know, and we'll give the people what they want. We appreciate watching, views, all those different things. Like, share, and subscribe. Peter, hit it.
I dream the dream
of time gone by.